What's up, guys? Welcome back to the TSOD channel. It's your boy Sean, and on today's episode, I'm gonna be showing you guys how to clean your rifle and pistol in basically 5 minutes or less, all right? Now, if you shoot a lot or maybe a little, all right, you wanna have that peace of mind of having a generally clean, lubricated, and protected weapon system. So that's what we're gonna be talking all about on today's episode. You're not gonna wanna miss it. Stick around. And oh, by the way, before we get into the video, you may wanna check the description box below for a lot of the stuff that I'm gonna be showing you as far as cleaning tools and lubricants, things like that. So you can actually just pause, save this video, hop over to Amazon, order this stuff, and then come back and go along with me during the video. So I'll see you guys in a second, right after the intro. All right, guys, welcome back to the TSOD channel. Okay, so just like I said before the intro, I've got a couple products that I want to show you that I use to help clean my weapons. And let's go over that first so that way you can potentially pause the video, go check them out, and come back to it when you're ready to kind of move along with me during the video. All right, so I have a couple things in front of me here that I use to help me clean. And number one, I want to start out with a decent gun mat, all right? It's, you know, the table or wherever you're doing this is going to get covered in carbon and grease and lubricant and so on and so forth. So I would suggest having a good gun mat that you can use as a reference for whatever weapon system you're working on, whether it's this Glock 19 or this Glock Gen 5 mat here from TechMat. You guys can find it in the description box below. Anything that I'm using here, you can find a link to it in the description box below. But as we go on, you know, it's good to start out with a gun mat or a cloth, whatever you want to use, an old towel, it's totally up to you. From there, again, like to have some gloves to protect your hands, right? A lot of times this lubricant has all sorts of stuff in it, right? Your skin could be sensitive to it, you could be allergic, whatever. It's best to wear some type of gloves. It doesn't have to be latex. From there, we're gonna start off with your preferred choice of CLP or cleaner lubricant protectant, all right? There's many brands out there. Lucas makes some, Hoppies, however you wanna say it, they make some. Miltech makes, there's so many out there on the market. You guys can go and choose one of that you prefer. I prefer Remington or Rem Oil made from Remington. I've been using this stuff for years, all right? Decades at this point, and it works. It works every time. From there, you want a good cloth or a rag. It doesn't have to be a microfiber like this, but again, you can find the ones that I use in the description box below. Bore snake, okay? We've got the 223 bore snake right here to go through the barrel of my AR, as well as I've got a 9mm bore snake. Now, I just run it through. It helps to clean out any of the carbon that's inside there and make sure the barrel's nice and clean. You're probably gonna want a good cleaning kit. I think this one goes on Amazon for somewhere around 15 bucks or less than $20. So you guys can go check it out. Some good things that you may wanna look for in a cleaning kit is, I would say number one is some type of cleaning brush, all right? Whether it's this, I don't know what this is, copper, something, steel, bristles, but some sort of metal bristle brush there. You've got a little regular, you know, bristle brush here, plastic, whatever that is. You also have this little thing right here, which you can use to run these bore patches through, right? So these bore patches come inside this kit, and all it is just basically like a little piece of cloth, and you run it through this little eyelet. You connect it to these rods here. I'll pull them out so you can see them. And these rods basically just screw together. The only thing I don't like about this kit in particular is that I wish it came with an additional rod. So this is a little bit short for the barrel. I personally like to have it go down a good majority of the barrel. You can buy this little cable extension, which, you know, you're able to kind of work it inside there, get it inside the barrel pretty easily. So this acts as an extension right here, plus whatever accessory that you guys decide to put on there, all right? So you've got that. There's like a little, let me show you some of the other extensions here. So this right here, kind of run through the barrel as well. There's a couple things that you can use. I'll pull all of these out so you can see them. This one is in here pretty good. All right, just a little pick if you got something in there. Brush. We're gonna be using several of these during this cleaning. So again, I'm gonna try to make the actual cleaning portion under 5 minutes. This is just a field cleaning. It's not going super in depth. Also comes with a little bottle here for CLP. So if you buy it in a larger bottle of Rem Oil and you wanna, just kind of keep topping it off as you use it, you can do that. But this kit right here, you can get for, I don't know, $20 or less. So check out the link below if you wanna look into it. Overall, not a bad starter kit. And then you've got your bore snake that you run through the bore, and it does come with a handle that you can basically connect these rods together, actually on this side, and use it to run some of these things inside of the bore and other places as well. Again, I wish it came with probably 2 more extensions of these little rods, and I would say this would be a super, super solid kit. All right, so that's it for all of my cleaning supplies, products. Oh, one more thing, or 2 more things, forgot to kind of cover here. This little guy right here, you don't have to use something like this. It's just like a small screwdriver or punch, but you will need something to kind of push down the sleeve where the striker or the firing pin is in this Glock in order to take this back plate off. You can use a very small flathead screwdriver. I prefer something maybe along the lines of like a Phillips, something that's rounded so you don't scratch up that plastic that's inside there. And I'll show it to you when we actually get to the pistol portion of the video. And then you also have these giant Q-tips that you can get down in there, especially where the fire control group, the hammer and everything inside the rifle, you can get in there and get rid of or clean up some of that carbon. Okay, so that's it for products and tools. Let's start with the AR first, okay? So let's get that up here. All right, so I got my AR-15 up here. I'm going to pull this thing off of the stand, all right? Now, for most people, I'm just gonna flip this around. You basically have to push in 2 of these pins, but I am here in the wonderful state of California that's super gun friendly. So I have turned this into a fixed magazine AR, fixed magazine via the AR mag lock, meaning that basically I cannot release this magazine without breaking the weapon apart or breaking the 2 halves between the upper and the lower receiver. So I need to remove this kingpin or this rear takedown pin from AR mag lock before I can separate these 2. So I'm gonna separate the upper and lower receiver. That way I can work with them a lot easier. You don't have to. You could technically just pull this rear pin down. You can break it down shotgun style and you can clean a lot of it without fully removing the upper and lower receiver. But since I have it here on a workbench, I'm just, nice and comfortable. I'm gonna take a little extra time to pull those apart. So give me a second. I'm gonna remove this kingpin here, which as you can see is a little bit different. It allows me to crack the weapon open, and then we're gonna actually break down and start cleaning some of the components. All right, so I removed the rear takedown pin, the kingpin here from AR mag lock. So I'm here in California and this is a fixed magazine rifle now. So as you can see, kind of have the ability to break it down shotgun style. Like I said before, I'm gonna push in, I'm gonna push this pin in from this side. You might wanna take some tension off of it. Now I'm able to just push it in with my thumb and you can see it kind of comes out this way. You may have to kind of wiggle it, boom. Front takedown pin is out. I'm just gonna set this back here off to the side. That way I can work with the upper receiver and the handguard and the barrel itself. Now, all right guys, so again, down and dirty, 5 minutes or less. I've got it here on the gun mat. I'm going to basically pull my charging handle back and expose my bolt. All right, so I've got my upper receiver right here. I've got my barrel, handguard, barrel inside, and I've got my charging handle and my bolt. So those are kind of your 3 major components when you're looking into cleaning. So now that I got this thing now that I got the bolt carrier group out of here, I'm gonna throw on some gloves so I don't get everything all over my hands. And just gonna kind of do an assessment of where majority of the carbon buildup. So you guys can see in here, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see quite a bit of carbon that, since this is a gas impingement system, right? This is not a piston driven rifle. all that gas blowback is just blowing right back into my upper receiver and my chamber right there, right? So that's where a lot of the work and the cleaning is gonna go into. Now from there, I'm gonna set this off to the side, just kind of inspect my bolt. Overall, not really bad, not super dirty. I didn't run through too many rounds through this gun, all right, on the last shoot before I cleaned it. I'm also gonna take a look at my charging handle from Radian, the Raptor. And for this one, this is really just a simple wipe down, all right? I really wanna take a look, because I don't have that many rounds through this rifle. I wanna make sure that it was assembled correctly and nothing crazy is going on with it here. So just inspecting to see if there's like any sort of crazy wear or rubbing or lines or anything like that. And I'm just gonna kind of wipe this down, take a look at it, make sure it functions correctly, make sure it does what it needs to do. And that piece is done, all right? It took me all of like 15 seconds to do that. From there, I'm gonna kind of take a look at my bolt as well, see if there's any sort of shiny parts where something may be rubbing weird. Now, you can wipe it down right off the bat. Some people will put a little bit of, spray lubricant or for the cleaning part. It's totally up to you. I personally like to wipe my stuff down first because I want as much of that carbon off of it initially before putting a bunch of like CLP gun lube onto that weapon first. Okay, so I wiped it down. Nothing really looks crazy. Nothing is loose as far as screws or anything like that. Now, what you can do, you can kind of take out this firing pin retaining pin here. It's right here. Be very, very careful when you're doing this. Make sure you're doing this in a location where hopefully you don't drop it. Sometimes it's hard to find, hard to see if you do drop it. So I'm gonna drop it right there. And then from there, I'm gonna remove or push down this cam and remove both the firing pin and the bolt, right? So here now, these are kind of the major components to your weapon system. This is the firing pin that actually strikes that round. So I wanna look at the strike face, make sure it's not, doesn't have any weird or crazy marks on there, not a ton of carbon buildup. This is where we can start to get out our brushes, right? And we can start to give things just a little cleaning, a little brush cleaning. If we need to, we can break out these wire brushes as well. But again, since I don't have a ton of rounds on this weapon, I'm just gonna kind of inspect everything. I'm gonna lay it out, and then once I'm done, that's when I'm gonna put on my cleaner and lubricant. So just kind of inspect this for any sort of crazy wear. The bolt itself, kind of look at the extractor right here. Now, this is where you're gonna find a ton of like carbon buildup over time and around this kind of, these gas rings, this area, because this is where all that gas from when that round fires, it comes back up into the gas block, back into the tube and right into the gas carrier of the bolt here. So it's gonna blow in through here and push right back in. So that's where you're gonna find a lot of the carbon buildup, guys. All right, so take a look at this, nothing crazy. Now you could push this pin out here for the extractor arm, and there's a spring inside there. I'm not gonna do it. Again, I don't have that many rounds under this rifle. This is just a basic field cleaning, 5 minutes or less, hopefully, and then we lube the gun up and get it back into action. So you also wanna kind of look down in here inside the bolt carrier itself. A lot of times carbon will build up back here where the gas rings sort of sit. That's where a lot of the carbon comes and it blows right into, the chamber of the weapon and the front portion of the upper receiver. All right, so just kind of looked everything over, nothing crazy at all. Okay, so now we can look at the gas tube in here, and that's where a lot of carbon will build up inside there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start out with just the least aggressive cleaning medium here, and that's just gonna be this brush. I'm gonna put a little bit. As you can see, I didn't douse it with any CLP, and I'm just gonna kind of go in there. I'll lock this, hopefully, and I'm gonna just get in there and just kind of brush things. Now watch your eyes too. You may wanna wear glasses, get some of the stuff in your eyes. It could really irritate your eyes. So I'm just kind of rubbing a bunch of this CLP, this Rem Oil in here. Again, I'm using the least aggressive. Now, when it comes to CLP, cleaning lubricant and protectant, you really wanna look at some of the reviews of what you're using, because depending on if your gun is, you know, coated, Cerakoted like this is, or if it's just kind of bare metal or bare aluminum, right? And most of these receivers are made out of aluminum. So you wanna make sure this stuff is not going to start peeling your paint job or your Cerakote or whatever you have on that weapon. It's not too aggressive to where you start to remove some of the finish, some of the bluing, the protective coating on that weapon, okay? So again, just wiping it down in there, nothing crazy. Again, if you're looking for like a super detailed video breakdown or removing all these major parts and things like that, this is not that video, guys. Grab some Q-tips, kind of wipe down between the gas tube there, that area, kind of wipe inside there where the bolt face sort of sits, where it starts to chamber that round, getting the carbon from around those little kind of teeth there. Again, this does not have to be perfect. You do not have to get every single bit of carbon that you see. For all my military folks, this does not have to be armory inspection ready, okay? We're just doing a functional cleaning, getting rid of majority of the carbon and then lubing it up, putting everything back together. All right, what I'm gonna do really quick is I'm gonna run both my bore snake and my bore patches through the barrel here. So I'm gonna remove this brush right here. And even before I do that, I'm gonna use my little wire brush just to kind of clean out kind of the chamber area. I'll throw this handle on here, it'll clean out the bore, and we'll call it a day. All right, so be careful when you do this. It does lock and spin a certain way. So if you spin it the opposite way, you may end up like lodging it inside there and not be able to get this handle back on there. So when I turn it to clockwise so that it keeps it on there. Now these bristles will come off on you, so I don't do it super aggressively. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna run some bore patches through here, my little eyelet and my little kind of cable, what do we call this? My little cable connectors, not sure right now. Cable rod or something. I guess that's what it'd be called, cable extension. Anyway, got this guy right here. We're gonna hook up some bore patches through here. Now, some people may say, oh, well, you know, you may wanna lube up or apply some lubricant or protectant really on the barrel, right? So generally barrels are made out of steel. However, I haven't gotten this weapon system wet at all in any way, so I won't be, okay. Now, ran into a bit of an issue, right? To where I don't have a long enough rod to be able to pull this through. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna run it from either side just a little bit. I'm gonna kind of get rid of this altogether because basically it went to about right here and I could not even get it. And what I don't wanna do is have it get stuck in the barrel and have to find some sort of rod to push down in there. That would be a major pain in the behind. So let's see it without the bore patch. Kind of run it through here. Yep. So it's not even protruding through this length of barrel. So what I need to do is get an additional rod or two to use through this. I like to use a bore snake anyway. I think it does a lot of the same stuff as bore patches do. So what I'm gonna do is basically get this guy out. Basically just looking through, the barrel overall looks pretty clean. So I'm just gonna kind of run this straight down through the top here. And you might have to kind of lift it and drop it, lift it and drop it. It's supposed to have some weight, but as soon as it drops through the other end, whenever it does, a second here. All right guys, so the compensator, for some reason the exit hole here is pretty tight, so I'm gonna actually go from the top instead of from inside the chamber there. So we'll go from here, try to get her down, and we'll just use gravity to sort of work. You may have to twist it a little bit. All right guys, so ended up going from the top, and from top to bottom here. Now I'm gonna just kind of do this once because the tolerances are really, really tight, but just make sure you can kind of get everything through here. All right, so there you have it. Basically ran the bore snake down there. All right, bore looks nice and clean, right? So that is that. Now let's kind of turn to getting the bolt carrier group reassembled. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna use these rods. And again, I'm gonna use my little bristle brush. And now I'm gonna apply some of this Rem Oil on here. And I'm just going to just kind of give everything a nice little scrub. Now I'm just gonna let this sit just a little bit. Same thing here, kind of cleaning inside of the carrier itself. Now you can kind of run this through here a little bit. Careful. Same thing on this side, run that through. Try to clean off any sort of carbon that you see in and around here. Same thing here, same thing with the firing pin. Okay, put that there. I really just need to wipe this down, right? But it's giving it a nice little coat, Rem Oil. So you can see they're nice and clean, right? Nice and shiny for the most part. Wipe these gloves off. Okay, now wipe down the bolt itself. Now, if you have a ton of carbon buildup here, you can kind of use this wire brush. Kind of recommend it after a certain amount of rounds to run that wire brush right on there to help loosen up a lot of that carbon, because it's gonna cake up on there, right? It's gonna build up. So you can just give this a little scrub, nothing crazy. And you can see there, if you can look right there, there's a bunch of carbon already starting to build up. So if it's caked up, you can kind of put a little bit of the CLP on there, and that should help loosen up a lot of that stuff. Kind of run it through here, same thing. You can use a Q-tip, run that through there as well. Make sure you don't have any carbon buildup. That looks to be pretty good. You don't want to get too aggro with this, but you do want a clean face. They make special tools that will help clean this off a little bit better without removing too much of the metal here. That's pretty much good. If I want to, whenever I get ready to do a detail cleaning, I will kind of scrub that a lot more if I need to. So you can kind of wipe the bristle faces off, and okay, again, use some more of the Q-tips. Kind of clean out in and around there. Should be able to kind of look down there. It should be nice and clear where that firing pin will actually, protrude and hit that round. Okay, so we are pretty much good. We're gonna go ahead and assemble the bolt carrier group back together. Wipe this guy down. And then I'll show you guys really quick where I like to put lubricant on certain areas that are moving, right? Areas that have a lot of moving parts. You use my brush again and kind of get inside here. You can use a Q-tip to clean it, or you can kind of just put your brush along with some other stuff here. You can use one end of the rod to sort of get it down in there and just kind of push up against the face, but just be careful that you're not scratching things up too bad. Sure, we'll get down there. And you can use, again, Q-tips to get them in there to clean out any carbon that's kind of caked down in there. As you can see, a bunch of carbon already. Okay, not bad for a functional cleaning. Okay, so let's go ahead and reassemble our bolt carrier group. So I'll go ahead and actually, gun that is a mess here. What I want to do is go ahead and put this guy back in here, right? I'm going to put our firing pin back in. There we go. So now we've got our firing pin back in here, the fat end or the big end kind of showing. Then we got actually, I'm gonna back out our firing pin just a little bit. We got the cam that needs to go in. So you can kind of pull this back, turn it, and then put that cam back in there. May need to lay it down and find out exactly where it needs to go. Now there's two openings to it. You can only go in one way, pretty much. Turn it to the side, turn it over, and then we can get our firing pin back down in there. Okay, firing pin's in there, cam is turned this way, okay? And then we'll put our firing pin, retaining pin in, and that will keep everything locked in. And a good way to test is that this cam should just kind of go forward, right? Just like so, as you see it. And that firing pin will not be able to kind of go forward whatsoever. So just kind of like a quick check there. We've already kind of cleaned our charging handle, the radian. The only other thing that I'll probably touch on the lower is just kind of cleaning out the fire control mechanism where the trigger assembly is located. And I'll pull out the buffer tube and show you guys. So really quick, before we kind of assemble this thing all the way back up, let me show you guys some wear points. Anything, in my opinion, that when it comes to cleaning, I want to get rid of all of the carbon. Lubricant, I'm really looking for areas that, anything that kind of rotates or moves, that's kind of what I want to lube up. So charging handle along the sides here, a little bit on the top, anything that's kind of moving inside the upper receiver for my bolt carrier group, anything that kind of wherever the bolt carrier group sort of sits, that's kind of where I want to lube up. So along the sides here, I'm definitely putting a little bit of lube. As you can see here, on the top as well, along the rails, the gas carrier, along the bottom right here, as you can see, right here as well. And I'm gonna put a little dab inside there and on there. So, and also right up here in the front too. So any of those locations, that's where I am kind of put. And then also one little dab right here where the actual bolt sort of itself kind of twists. So, and then what I'll do is I'll just kind of work this just like that. Some people also put a little dab right there where it kind of rotates along that. Yep, so it's all sort of lubricated. Now you don't have to kind of douse yours just like this. You can kind of give it a little pat down, but that's kind of where I put a lot of my lube. And then we'll get our charging handle back in here, make sure that's forward. And then we'll go ahead and kind of wipe my hands here, a ton of Rem Oil on there. And that is it for the upper as far as the lubrication points, okay? So this is all set right here. Now we'll bring over the lower receiver. You can see the trigger assembly. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on fire, release it. All right, actually kind of keep some tension on it as it's going. As you can see here, it's not very dirty, right? It's got the Geisley SDG trigger in here. So, I mean, I love that Geisley trigger. So there's not a lot of carbon, right? I'm not gonna spend a ton of time cleaning a part of my rifle that's not even dirty, guys, right? There's no point in wasting a ton of time. I'm just gonna look down in there, see if there's any sort of carbon buildup. There's really not much of anything going on. What I do wanna do though, is I wanna take a look at my buffer and buffer tube and buffer spring to see if there's a ton of carbon in here. There's not, all right? So you can kind of just pull this apart. You can wipe it down as well. So I'm just gonna kind of give it a wipe down. It's not really dirty at all. A lot of times you'll see a lot of carbon buildup here. Same thing around the spring as well. So just gonna push this back up on here. Sometimes the buffer spring will actually kind of ride up. There we go. See, that just snapped onto there. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of just take a look at that, put it back in there. And now when I push it, I wanna make sure that, as you guys can see here, actually I'm gonna pull this buffer out a little bit so you can see it has these kind of flat edges. When I put it back in there and lock it, I wanna make sure it's on one of these rounded edges so that it inadvertently doesn't pop out. So I'm gonna push it in, and if I need to, I'm just gonna rotate and spin it around just like that, okay? That is pretty much it, other than a wipe down of the exterior. Same thing with the magazine well as well. Might get some dirt and carbon and other things in there. I'm gonna wipe down my bolt release, the hammer face, anything that's inside there. I can use Q-tips to get down in here as well. I can, if you really wanted to get crazy with it, you can use like some sort of like solvent or alcohol to help clean out a bunch of the CLP and everything that's down inside here. But it's pretty clean, so I don't really need to do much to it at all. All right, guys, that is it, okay? Down and dirty, kind of a field cleaning, getting your AR back into action. So what I'm gonna do is put this bad boy back together, put my front pin in. I've got my Maglock Kingpin. So what I need to do is pull this pin back. I'm gonna pause for a second so I can find a little flathead or something. Actually, I might be able to do it with my finger. Yep, was able to do it with my finger, awesome. And then rotate that around, great. So that locked in my Kingpin there, which is pretty cool. And then all I'm gonna do now is just do a quick functions check. Right, great. So I've got it on safe right now, so it's not gonna fire. Just gonna go ahead and put it on fire, release, okay? I'm gonna rack it, fire again, rack it. I'm gonna hear that trigger reset, hear that the firing pin release again, and then I can rack it, throw it on fire, and it's on, excuse me, rack it, throw it on safe, and it's on safe. That's it, right? That's a down and dirty way to clean your AR-15, guys. So if you have any questions whatsoever, hit me up in the description box below. Maybe a little bit over 5 minutes, but I wanted to take my time and just show you all of the different steps. But realistically, when I'm cleaning this thing, it's just like boom, boom, you know, shotgun style, remove the bolt carrier group, wipe everything down, give it a quick inspection, lube up the major components that have movement or, you know, have metal on metal contact. And I'm throwing it back in there and I'm ready to go again, right? So I can throw this thing in the gun safe, in the gun bag, the gun case, whatever, and it's gonna be ready to rock and roll, okay? So let's bring the Glock pistol over here now and just show you guys a quick 5-minute, hopefully, or less, quick cleaning of the pistol. All right, so I've got my G19 here. This should go faster than the rifle, a little less components and size. Again, one thing that I didn't cover on the rifle before I get into the pistol, always make sure that your weapon is, you know, condition 4, you've got no round in the chamber, magazine, source of ammunition, magazines removed, right? So check your chambers before you start doing any sort of manipulation. I had already checked it with that one, but again, it's better to be safe than sorry. Okay, so now that I know the weapon is clear, what I wanna do now is I'm going to kind of move my slide back and I'm gonna pull down on this little kind of bar here. This is your slide release, all right? Got one on either side. So all I'm gonna do is just kind of pull back on this slide a little bit, push down on these, and then it's gonna kind of stop. And when it does that, I'm gonna pull that trigger and I should be able to kind of caught. It's kind of a 2-part process here. Okay, there we go. So I was able to push that down enough, pull the trigger, and now my slide is able to go forward, and I'm able to separate my frame, lower portion of my frame here, as well as my slide. So for this one, I'm gonna start with the frame first. So as you can see here, a little bit of carbon buildup. I think I put, you know, several more rounds through this and the rifle in the last shoot. Just kind of, again, inspecting, looking for anything crazy. And then from there, I just start going to town with my cleaning rag and my brush, right? So I'm brushing all this stuff. I'm trying to brush it away and outside of the pistol, okay? I don't want to brush a lot of this stuff back in there. Now you can remove a lot of this stuff. I'm not going to do that. Again, this is just like a functional cleaning. So I'm going to try to brush a lot of this stuff on the outside and away, especially down there. Start to get into the magazine well, you'll start to see some buildup of carbon. Now you don't really need the bristle or the metal bristle brush for just about anything in here. There's really not that much carbon that really builds up on these pistols. So I'm gonna wipe this all down. You're gonna see a lot of carbon sort of, you know, accumulate right in this area, right in the kind of the chamber area where the majority of the gas is going. That's where you're gonna find a lot of that carbon. Maybe back here by the sear, just a little bit. So I'm gonna kind of run this up there. All right, a little bit back here. So this is now where I'm gonna kind of start to use a little bit of this CLP to kind of get in there, break up some of that carbon to where I can wipe it down really good. And what I'm gonna do here after I kind of clean this frame is I'm gonna take apart this slide a little bit for you. Nothing crazy, but I am gonna remove the recoil spring. I'm gonna remove the guide rod, as well as the striker, the firing pin, striker, whatever you wanna call it. I'm gonna remove that as well. Just inspect it, take a look at it, clean it, and put it right back together. So you can use things like Q-tips as well. Q-tips are really great for keeping your weapon clean and getting into those little crevices that you just can't get to with your hands. So there's some areas right under here, kind of the slide lock area here, this little ramp, okay. This is where a lot of this stuff. Now again, with a detail cleaning, I'm gonna kind of pull all this stuff out, maybe put it in some solvent in a bucket so I can get all of this like little extra gunk and things like that. But again, this is just a field cleaning. I'm not going very in-depth whatsoever. Just a quick wipe down. All right, that is it, guys. That's it for the lower of the frame here. pistol grip. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of wipe down the outside of my slide here, just inspecting it, all right? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna kind of flip this over so you guys can see. I've got my recoil spring and the rod here, the guide rod. I've got my barrel, and then I've got my striker firing pin. Glock calls it a striker, Glock calls it a firing pin, but you know, most pistols have a striker. So let's go ahead and, first things first, be careful when you remove this. You're gonna have to push back or push in on your recoil spring and the guide rod here. In the Gen 5s, it's all one component together. So all you need to do is just kind of inspect this, make sure none of the coils are broken, and just give it a wipe down. This is pretty good, so that'll sit over there. Now the barrel, you basically just kind of move it forward and kind of lift it out just like that. Look down the barrel. I'll run a bore snake through it really quick and just kind of give it a wipe down, and then we'll lube it up just a little bit as we put it back. All right, so here we go. As you can see, that is the barrel. Got this 9mm bore snake, if I can ever get it untied here. All right, this is a lot easier to do than the rifle. Just kind of push that through and just pull just like so. Be careful, make sure you don't punch yourself in the face. And you can do it once or twice. This looks really, really clean. I'll do it twice just to show you guys. Here we go. Shut down, grab a hold of it, continue to wrap and pull, and that's good. So one of the things you want to maybe use the wire brush for is this little ramp here. You'll get carbon sort of starting to build up on the face of this. So this is kind of the only thing that I really might use it for, is right in here. And then I'm gonna wipe this down as well, right in between here. Okay, that's it. That is it for that. I'm gonna wipe down the inside of the slide here. It's where some carbon will build up. So you can throw some CLP on here and just kind of scrub everything here. Just give it a little nice little brush by the face right here of the slide where the firing pin or striker hits the back of the round. Inside these rails, they'll definitely have carbon buildup. So just kind of wiping all that stuff down. Then you just use your rag, and now you go through. Make sure this little plunger here pushes in nice and easy. And I want to get any gunk out of the inside portion of the rails here, or the rail. And give this a good scrub on here. Now again, if you have a Cerakote or painted slide or anything like that, just be careful of what type of lubricant you use. Try to make sure you don't get a lot of that stuff on the face of your optic. Mine definitely needs a nice little wipe down, so I'll probably just use some alcohol. Nothing with like any crazy chemicals or anything like that. So, okay, so that's that. The slide is pretty much good to go. Now, one thing I want to show you, you don't have to take this out, all right? But I am going to remove the firing pin or the striker back here. It has this little back plate. Now, here, as you can see, you can kind of see the firing pin. There's a little plastic sleeve that kind of protrudes right here. All you need to do is find something, a little, Phillips screwdriver, hopefully nothing too sharp, to push down on this, put tension on this so this back plate can slide out, right? So I'm just gonna stick this in here, push down on it a little bit, hopefully I don't bend it, and then I'm gonna slide this back plate forward, but be careful because there is a pin just beneath it, and that is that. Now what I can do is I can basically pull out the firing pin. I can also pull out this little rod and spring and just set it right there. So I can kind of take a look inside of the barrel here now, making sure it doesn't have a ton of carbon built up in there. Now I'm gonna find just a Q-tip, I'm gonna run it down in there and just try to wipe down any sort of crazy carbon buildup. Now there's nothing crazy in there. There is another plastic sleeve down in there. It shouldn't come out. If it does, just kind of set it right back down in there. And we'll take a look at our striker or firing pin, whatever you guys are calling it these days. And we just kind of clean some stuff out here. Inspect it, make sure it doesn't have a ton of carbon. Make sure that the actual face of it doesn't have any crazy marks or anything like that. It looks pretty good. And then you just wipe it down. Go ahead and do everything in reverse. So again, slide this forward, just like so. Okay, all right, so that's that. This guy goes in actually this way. Okay, now it's time to put a little back plate on here. Now with this, you probably want to stand it up, all right? And back plate goes back in this way. And what you're gonna have to do is push down that plastic sleeve a little bit. Be careful because it can go flying. Push down that plastic sleeve until it gets to the point where it's just like this. And then you can use whatever tool you use to help push down that sleeve. You can push that pin in and slide that plate all the way forward, just like so. All right, so that, and then make sure it's actually locked in, all right? There you go. Now it's good. Had that little positive snap there. Okay, so now we can start to put everything back together in reverse, such as our barrel here, and then our guide rod and spring. Okay, there you have it. It is, you know, back assembled and ready to be put on our frame here. Okay, so with this, you're gonna need to guide it back in there, and once it gets to a certain point, you're just gonna pull it and it's gonna kind of lock itself back. Now, a good way to just do a function check, again, make sure weapon's clear. I've already checked it. Go ahead and release that firing pin. While holding that trigger back, you can pull it all the way back and then you can hear the reset. I just heard the reset and then I can fire it again. All right, now it just released the striker and then you can basically just cock it. All right, so that's a quick cleaning and functions check of the pistol. Okay, so now that I've did the functions check, what I wanna do now is I wanna show you guys how I lube up my pistols, basically with them fully assembled. Now again, just like on the rifle, I wanna put lubricant on the portions that have movement, all right? Where I'm gonna have heat and other things, and basically carbon can kind of build up and potentially, you know, create malfunctions or stoppages. So definitely along the rails right here, you'll definitely see me put lubricant there. Now up here on the front as well, where it also kind of slides on the plastic, I'll put a little bit there, and I'll put a little bit on the, now this could have been done with a disassemble, but I wanna show you how I lube up a pistol before I get ready to shoot on the range if I need to, okay? And then I also put a little bit on the inside of the chamber here, okay? And from there, that's it. Just pretty much those 6 points, all right? And I rack it a couple times, all right? Check it, okay. There you have it. That is how, you know, I basically lube my weapon up and store it and have it ready for that next shoot. All right, guys, so straight into the point, down and dirty, showing you guys how you can clean your rifle or pistol in basically 5 minutes or less, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you do things a little bit differently in your, you know, field cleaning, you know, quick down and dirty cleaning steps. Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to smash that like button, share it with a friend or family member, and consider subscribing, all right? It helps my channel grow. Don't forget to head on over to tsodshop.com. Check out the merch such as our beanies. We've got shirts, we've got tanks, a lot of stuff. You guys can help support me over here at TSOD. And that's all I got for you. So I will see you guys again next time on the TSOD channel. Peace.